All right, let's get started. Thank you for taking the time from your busy day and joining us for this webinar. We are super thrilled to have you on board and listen to our message and be participating in this webinar. So quick rundown on what you can expect to take away at the end of this webinar. It's twofold, right? And this is top of mind for many of the retailers and the dispensaries we have been talking to in California. So the first key takeaway is a pre-grasp and a solid understanding on seed to sale tracking and what does it really mean for a store or a dispensary. And then in line with that first takeaway, there's also a follow-up which is more around how you as either as a store owner or a store manager or a bartender or for that matter, any role that you play in running your store, how can you successfully transition from medical to recreational, right? Those are the two key takeaways that you would go over at the end of this webinar. And just a quick note on the illustration and the diagram that you see on the right over there. It's a pyramid, and we've seen this resonate with quite a few of our audience and customers. So if you think of it and how you are thinking about running a business and as a store or a dispensary, right? So at the bottom of the pyramid, it's all about being compliant. Then on top, once you're laid a very good solid foundation, next up would be that will actually allow you to run solidly on the operational front, both on the front office and the back office. And then on top of all this is now you're able to focus definitely on how you grow, how you market, how you build your customer base, right? So those are the key aspects, and I've seen that resonate well, and you'll start seeing a lot of the messages and takeaways from this webinar aligned to all of those three components. So quick intro of who we are. Speaking to you as Vijay, I'm part of the Greenbeds marketing team. And along with me, I have the pleasure of hosting John Swoboda. He is a good friend and a colleague. And more importantly, what's more relevant for you is he is actually a California subject matter expert and a metric specialist. And he's built that credibility based on about 15 to 20 years in the industry, both on the technology side as well as in the firsthand experience of running a dispensary in Colorado. And John will speak more when his section comes online. So in line with that, we'd love to hear and understand who you are. So what I'll do now is actually kick off a quick poll that will help us understand who you are, and more importantly, it'll help us to actually craft the messages and the content that's more relevant. So with that, so you should be able to see the poll. Please fill in the details, and then at the end of it, we'll stop the poll in a minute or so, or maybe in a few seconds. That's while I try to find where the poll has disappeared. All right. Thank you. See the response is coming in. We'll give a few more seconds and we'll end the poll shortly. Excellent. So what's your role in the store? We see that we got a combination of owner and general manager. And then what's worrying you about traceability? That's the second question that's being asked in the poll. And we see definitely it's the metric reporting. And of course, all of the above, which includes metric reporting, staffing employees, security, inventory supply. Excellent. So with that, I'll end the poll. We'll go back into the presentation. All right, let me just get a quick confirmation from my colleague, John. John, can you see the slides?
Yep, sure can.
Very good, thank you. So with that, so here's the agenda. This is what we'll be covering, a bit about who Greenbeds is. Follow-up to that is the content that's aligned with the key takeaways that I called out earlier. It's about understanding a seed to sale and metric. And then follow-up to that is the transition and how you can actually manage the transition from a medical to recreational store, and more importantly, how you can leverage technology to be successful in that migration and transition. So who is GreenBits? So let's start with a small story, right? More of a background of who GreenBits is. We started way back in 2014. It was a small team that included our founders, Ben, who is our current CEO, and then Trey and a couple of others, right? So that small team started with the intent of how can we use technology to address and solve the challenges and the problems that's happening in this cannabis space, right? And that essentially is what is GreenBits' mission, right? What can we do to enable the world of retail cannabis? And so with that intent, with that focus, and with that mission, Ben and his team started GreenBits in 2014, and the first market that we actually went and studied our customers and the retailers and the dispensaries was the Washington market. So that's where we actually built our foundation, built our DNA, essentially understanding the transition and all of the cannabis sales that was happening in the Washington market. So in the subsequent 2 to 3 years, we built a vast wealth of knowledge and experience and expertise in understanding what it means from a compliance point of view, what it means to a retail owner or dispensary owner or any of the employees for that matter. What are the challenges that is involved, and what are the challenges that you face on a day-to-day basis, right? So based on that view and constant focus, we are improving, iterating, and building our product, all aligned with our mission of enabling the world of retail cannabis. A bit about the team. You can see in the pictures over there, the picture in the middle is the picture of the founders. So Ben is the middle, and then you have Trey to his left, and then Andrew Katz is the other engineer on the right. And you also see a couple of our the images of our colleagues. You can clearly see that, yes, we love to have fun, but we work hard. So it's all about the mantra and theme of play hard and have fun, but at the same time, all being done with the alignment with our mission that we stated earlier, as well as the core values, right? So to the left, you see some of our core values. What will actually resonate and what you'll see evident is our continuous passion to improve and excel. More importantly, what do we need to do to essentially help and address our customers' pains and challenges, right? That's a key piece of our company and core value and culture. And we have all of these in our mind as we are making the various decisions, be it in the product, be it in support, be it in sales, or be it in customer success teams, right? We essentially live and decide by these core company values. We are based in San Jose, California. That's where we have a fairly large team. In addition, we also have a significant presence in Portland, Oregon. So we have quite a few of our sales and support personnel and a few others. So, but having said that, the key takeaway is, yes, we have a solid presence in California, which is going to be pretty soon one of the biggest markets for cannabis, if not the biggest. And then we also have a solid presence in Oregon. That's where we understand and essentially get and interact with the retailers and the dispensaries in Oregon, West Coast, pretty much Washington as well. GreenBits retail offering. So where we are today, just to give you a sense of the stats and the metrics, yeah, I'm pretty sure we're across that 800 mark when it comes to who we are privileged and grateful to call as GreenBits customers. We have definitely crossed the 800 mark. To give you a sense of the volume of transactions that run through our PO systems, we have crossed $2 billion in run rate on an annual basis, right? But more importantly, our offering is all about essentially helping the retailers, be it the stores, the dispensaries, right? It's all about helping you have a good insight into your inventory and have that line of sight when it comes to the seed to sale tracking and whatever you need to do to report all the stats and the details to the state. And equally important is the insight into the inventory for you so that you can plan your purchasing, the receiving, and then how you place and essentially market and sell your products and deliver a much better consumer experience for all those people walking into your stores every day. So here is what our customers are saying. I'll let you read through this. But one thing that is evident and what comes across is we have a very passionate community and customers that we truly love enjoying and interacting with them on a day-to-day basis, right? So you can see that as evident on these quotes that you see from the customers. You'll see a lot more if you go to our website. Having said that, let me hand it over to my colleague, John. He's going to walk you through the core content. It's all about seed to sale and metric. Over to you, John.
Right on. Thank you so much, Vijay. I appreciate that. Hello, everyone. Again, my name is John Swoboda. I am, as Vijay had mentioned, I have a long history in cannabis advocacy, activism, technology, as well as dispensary operations. My goal is to help educate shop owners in California to better prepare yourselves for metric traceability and to stay compliant and to make sure that you're running your business as effectively as possible as you transition from med only to recreational sales. I've gone through it myself in Colorado, so hopefully I can shed some light on what compliancy will mean to your day-to-day operations. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is what is metric seed to sale traceability and tracking. So a high-level view, essentially every cultivator that wants to grow legal cannabis in California will need to follow the rules. And what the rules will be is that every seed or clone that goes into the dirt will be assigned what's called a package ID. The package ID comes on what's called a package tag or a metric tag. It's an RFID tag that will have a 24-digit alphanumeric code on it. That 24-digit alphanumeric code is the package ID, and that is unique to that individual seed or clone that goes in the dirt. So as that seed or clone begins to grow and it goes from various veg state to veg state, eventually it's going to get to a harvestable state. At that point, the cultivator is going to go ahead and harvest that adult plant, turn that flower into bulk bud, and they will be responsible for sending that bulk flower to a distribution center. Once that flower hits the distribution center, that distribution center in California has two main responsibilities. The first one is for all of the testing of that product. So all of the potency testing as well as pesticide testing. Whether that distribution center has an in-house lab or they need to send it out to a lab, they are responsible for getting that testing done. When the testing results come back on that flower, the next responsibility the distribution center will have is to actually package all of that product and put it into things like pre-rolls, eighths, quarters, halves, ounces, et cetera, et cetera. So the key here as far as traceability and compliancy is concerned is that that original 24-digit alphanumeric code that followed that bulk flower into the distribution center must now be attached to each individual sellable unit that is coming off of that bulk flower. So each one of those pre-rolls, those grams, those quarters, those halves, and those ounces all need to be assigned that same 24-digit alphanumeric code. Again, this is how the state is tracing or tracking all of these plants from seed to sale. When the distribution center has all of your flower packaged and ready to send to a retail center, they will go into their metric license and fill out what's called a manifest. And essentially what the manifest is doing is it's telling the state that distribution center is sending over X amount of quantity of these specific package IDs from their facility to your retail facility. Once they have completed that manifest, they'll go ahead and load up that product onto their truck and they will send it over to you. That's when you and your compliancy gets involved, because at this point it's up to you and it's your responsibility as a retailer to accept that product into your store and into your point of sale, manage all of those package IDs, make sure that they are 100% accurate at all times regarding quantities and unit of measures and all of those good things. And all of that product must be traced and tracked throughout your inventory in your store until you finally do a transaction and sell that product. And then the state at the end of all of this wants you to report every single item that you have sold to the state, to the metric account in your license, so that they know that that individual package ID has now gone from the point it was planted in the dirt all the way until it was in your customer's hand and they're walking out the door. The state needs to know all of that movement, and that's essentially, in a very high level view, what traceability is. So what does that mean to you? What does compliance mean to you in your store? If we can go to the next slide here. Some major pain points in compliancy in a retail operation is data entry. That's the biggest pain, because when you receive this product to your back door, when the doorbell rings and your inventory manager is ready to accept product, the challenge is now you have to take that physical product and somehow get it into your point of sale system. That entails data entry, and the challenge when you're doing data entry is that could cause, there's always the room for human error when you're doing manual data entry. And when there's human error when it comes to compliancy, that causes a ripple effect all the way downstream throughout your entire inventory management as well as your transaction reporting. So any inventory adjustments that you will need to make during the day, so things like theft or waste, all need to be reported to the state. So you need to track all of that. Another challenge that all metric environment compliant stores run into is the fact that you're actually managing 3 inventories that all must be identical. And what I mean by that is that your physical inventory of the products that you have in your store must match what your point of sale says you have in your store, and both of those must match what the state metric system says that you have in the store. And all 3 of those need to be 100% identical, otherwise you're risking being out of compliancy. Finally, at the end of every night, what you will need to do is go into your point of sale and export a CSV file of all of your transactions for the day. So every single item that you sold that day, including the quantity that you sold, the package ID that's specific for that item, the unit of measure, as well as some other data. And you need to push all of that up to Metric to let Metric know what you have sold for that day. There's a challenge because if there are any errors on this upload, Metric will not accept your upload, and it is up to you to find those errors, fix them, and finish this upload every single night in order to stay compliant. So what does this mean? We'll go back to the pyramid here. So before, you guys in California, and I'm a little jealous, you've been able to really focus on your operational efficiency inside your store as well as your customer growth. Those have been the 2 main focuses for stores in California. It's essentially how can we run our store properly and how can we get more customers in the door. And that's a great place to be. The challenge right now is with metric compliancy being implemented in the state, your number one focus must be compliancy. And if your compliancy is not there, if you are not staying compliant, then operational efficiency and growth are not even going to be options for you. And let's talk a little bit why compliancy is so important. So if you are not compliant, these are things that can happen. You can lose your license, you can gather fines, you can have a state audit come into your store. I personally witnessed 11 police officers in my store watching us count our product during a state audit. It's not a good time. It's not a fun thing to be a part of. So it's very important to keep your store compliant. Some ways that you can lose your license are to sell to underage individuals, underage customers. Selling to invalid patients whose medical cards may have expired. If you are overselling to patients, as you all are well aware of, I'm sure, there are specific limits that are being placed as far as transaction limits per day. So you can't oversell to a patient. And then finally, not tracking all of that inventory in real time with all of those package IDs, keeping all of that correct and proper throughout your entire inventory. Now, the challenge here is that all of these major compliancy points are all in the hands of your hourly frontline employees. And that can be a challenge. So how do you successfully transition from med sales to recreational sales? This is something that we went through in Colorado, and I'm well aware of all of these challenges. So some of the new challenges that you can be prepared for or you can expect some headaches from your seed to sale tracking system, from Metric. So it's a new system. Everybody has to get used to it, and there are going to be some headaches there. Now, there's also going to be an increase in demand for product. Many of our stores, and I'll get to this in a minute, saw a huge influx of customers. So you need to be prepared for that, as well as, you know, be prepared for any supply or any shortages of actual product supply. Are the cultivators and the manufacturers going to be able to keep up with the new demand of recreational customers or adult use customers? Constant changes in regulations. The joke is the same joke as they say back in my hometown of Nebraska, in Omaha, Nebraska. If you don't like the weather, then just wait a half hour and it'll change. It's the same idea with compliancy regulations. If you, every week or every month, these things change and you need to be on top of them. And then finally, recreational and adult use, it's just a completely different customer, a different mentality, and a different way of thinking. So let's get into some of these. As far as headaches due to the seed to sale tracking, we have seen some dispensary managers, myself included in my history, spend an extra hour, 2, possibly 3 hours a day just focusing on keeping your store or my store compliant and making sure that all of the necessities or the needs of Metric are being met every single day. So what many stores in Metric compliant environments do is they'll hire a compliancy manager, an inventory / compliancy manager. It does become a full-time job. You also, the nice thing for California is that you're now getting into the traceability environment a little bit downstream. So there are software solutions that you can leverage that are going to make a lot of this seed to sale tracking and traceability a lot easier on you. So make sure you're leveraging those. The next thing that you need to be prepared for is to get ready for some really long lines. So what it means when you're an adult, when you go to adult use or recreational sales, is we've seen some of our customers in Nevada grow 10 to 20 times overnight due to recreational sales. So that means, I mean, just put it into perspective. If you're seeing 100 customers or 100 patients today, how can your store support 1,000 customers tomorrow? And I've personally been witness to this. It's a challenge, so you have to be prepared. So some of the tips that we have is just make sure you have enough inventory. Don't run out. There's nothing worse than that look of running out on your shelf. So make sure that you're properly prepared. And then finally, make sure that your software, the store's software is reliable and that it's going to move customers quickly through your store. The challenge is you don't want your software to bog your frontline employees down because it's going to create a bad experience for your staff as well as for all of the customers that are coming into your store. And to give you an idea, some of these long lines that we've seen in Colorado and Nevada, we'll take a look at this next slide. These are actual, the day after we legalized rec sales in Colorado and Nevada, stores were just slammed. So you must be prepared for this. Next, you need to be adaptable to the changing regulations. So as we've seen in places like Colorado and Oregon and Alaska, these regulations can change literally every week, sometimes every month, you know, so it's one of those things where you need to be on top of it. You need to understand what the rules and regulations are, and you need to follow them. Otherwise, you are running the potential of getting your license flagged and potential fines and more. So what we recommend is consult legal counsel. Make sure that you have good legal counsel on retainer, or again, bring somebody on staff, a full-time employee who can help you stay apprised of the ever-changing regulations. So bring somebody on maybe to manage that metric as well as keeping on top of all of these different regulations. It's a challenge. It is a full-time job. So final thing, let's go and let's talk about the customers that you're going to be seeing with adult use. As Will Tisdale of Cannabis Station said here, as with any retail store, recreational customers come in believing they are always right. They think they can get certain amounts of things that they can't, or they try to sneak more product than they're supposed to. We've even had customers trying to steal product by reaching behind the counter. So you're now moving from where a patient is very grateful and understanding and thankful for the medicine that you've been providing to them. Now you're kind of switching over to a more recreational, more of a retail environment where the customer is technically always right? So now the challenges here become, you want to move these customers through your store as quickly as possible, maintain your compliancy, but also keep a positive customer experience. So you need to prepare for this. Let's go ahead and move on. I'm sure you guys are going to be ready for that. we want to make sure that you're ready. So how does GreenBits help your dispensary successfully transition from a med sale to recreational sale? So let's go back to this dispensary's priorities pyramid. Now, while growth and operations were your primary focus before, now you must prioritize your compliancy. So GreenBits, we have been focused on automating the compliancy aspect for our customers for years now. Our software platform actually automates many of the workflows which cause all of the compliancy headaches in your store, all of the time sucks, so all of that extra hours and hours of work your managers are going to have to go through, and we rectify many of the compliancy mistakes that can happen when you do manual data entry in a point of sale. So what I'm saying is that we're going to focus on the compliancy, and we're going to automate a lot of the compliancy so that you don't have to worry about it. You can focus on your product and your customer's experience. So let's talk about some of those things that you need to focus on, and some of the things that we automate here with GreenBits. So here are some of the areas of compliance automation that you can expect with GreenBits. First off, you're going to maintain 100% accuracy with metric with our fully integrated and automated sync. We're also going to prevent any sales from exceeding state regulations with our auto-applying transaction limits. You're also going to have access to detailed reporting, including tax reports, so you always know how much to send to Uncle Sam. So these things are extremely important because, again, it's taking those headaches off of your shelf or off of your head and off of your mind, and we're just going to take care of it for you. Now, the real big challenges in a metric environment is the operational efficiency in a store. So really, at the end of the day, we want to give you more time back to your lives. At the end of the day, I understand from my background, I'm not in cannabis to sit there and scour through spreadsheets all day and staring at legalese as far as metric compliancy information. So we here at GreenBits have tried to automate a lot of this headache that comes with compliancy. So things like receiving in a typical, as I had mentioned, in your typical environment, when you receive product intake, there's a lot of human data entry that goes along with that. So with that data entry comes the potential for human error. We actually automate all of that product intake so that we minimize the data entry that is going on in our point of sale so that people can't get you out of compliance. We also give you a fantastic auditing tool. Auditing a store and doing a daily audit is a challenge. So what we give you the ability to do is take a Bluetooth scanner, go around, scan the various barcodes of your product, and then run that report up against your GreenBits inventory to let you know if there's any inventory adjustments that need to be made, and we actually automate those inventory adjustments for you as well. So again, we're taking a lot of these time sucks away from your employees. Finally, reconciliation with the state system. As I had mentioned with in other systems, you have to do a CSV download at the end of the night of all of your transaction data, including the quantities of every package ID you sold that day. It's a challenge, and it does add anywhere from an hour to 2 hours at the end of every night. So what we do is we actually automate that via our software so that as you're transacting business during the day, we are going to push that data up to Metric on your behalf so that at the end of the night, there is nothing more to do. Metric has all of the compliancy transactional data that they need. You can close up your doors and you can go home. Finally, one of the most important things out there is security, system security in your customers' data. We understand how important that is, and we pride ourselves on being on the most safe, stable, and secure system out there, which is Amazon Web Services with multiple co-located servers across the country. And I would be happy to discuss any of that in detail, but it is our number one concern, and we are going to make sure that your brand is never going to take a hit because your software is not secure. So I hope that answers a lot of your questions. As I had mentioned, if you would like to learn more, I'd be more than happy to schedule some time after this webinar, and we can walk through a demo of GreenBits and show you exactly what I'm talking about regarding automation of metric compliancy.
Right. Thank you, John. So as a quick wrap up and a summary, so this is what we covered, right? It's all about seed to sale tracking, and more importantly, what does it mean in the way how you operate your stores and how you plan the growth of your business, right? And as John alluded and mentioned and highlighted earlier, there'll be new challenges with the seed to sale tracking and reporting that comes with it. There'll be new challenges in how you essentially deliver and handle and essentially sell to your customers. There'll be a change on that front. There'll be a change in how you manage your employees, as well as how you manage your relationship and how you interact with your vendors for the various types of products. While there are all these challenges, it's definitely, I mean, clearly now is a good time and a great time to be in this industry. And yeah, as John alluded earlier, there's always technology and software to address a lot of the challenges. And at the end of the day, if a lot of the aspects around compliance and even the operations and even the growth is taken care of, because what that will allow you to do is for you to help and focus more on essentially educating and delivering a better customer experience for your consumers. So with that, love to engage and discuss more and even give like a very customized demo that's very specific to your environment. You can absolutely sign up for a demo if you go to this link that's provided at the bottom of the screen over here. Just go to www.greenbits.com/demo. And and our team will be super delighted to essentially understand your challenges and then walk you through what our product can do and help in addressing those challenges that you're facing or maybe you're having in your mind. So that's a quick wrap up. So yeah, now time for Q&A. So if you have any of the questions, definitely feel free to type in to the chat box that you have. So absolutely type in. And John and I will be here to answer and address any of the questions that you have. All right, so one of the questions that we have, John, is do you support online ordering and delivery?
Currently, we do not. I mean, as far as online ordering and delivery, what Greenbits does is we focus on the in-store retail aspects of the business. We do have partners that specialize in online ordering and delivery that we integrate with. So we'd be happy to chat about some of those partnerships and how those integrations work directly with our software in the demo.
Yeah, absolutely. So just adding more color to what John alluded and mentioned, right? So when you're talking about partnerships, we're talking about like partnering with either like a Leafly, Weedmaps, Baker from the online menu syndication point of view, and then absolutely partnership around how Greenbits is integrated and can be integrated with delivery platforms. All right, so one of the questions that we have is, do you offer training to my employees? Because there'll be, essentially, if I have to read into that question, essentially it's around, there'll be a learning curve for the employees. So what kind of training do you offer to them?
Yeah, absolutely. Greenbits currently helps over or nearly 1,000 retailers nationwide with their operations in their stores. So we have nailed the training down. It's actually fantastic. There's a couple of videos, training videos that we'll get out to your employees. They can reference to them anytime they want. We also have amazing customer success. You can reach them anywhere from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. any day to ask any questions about the software. We're always here to help. Now, that being said, when you are getting ready to launch with Greenbits, we want to make sure and ensure that you and your employees are 100% ready to go when we flip the switch and you guys are on with Greenbits. So our onboarding team actually has a fantastic program that they will walk you through step by step to make sure that you're completely comfortable and ready, so that when you are ready to launch with Greenbits, you're fully comfortable and confident that the system is going to work for you. And then on top of that, the nice thing is that your employees are going to learn compliancy in an environment where they're not going to be able to screw up your compliancy, and that's very very important to address, because as I had mentioned, the compliancy aspect is essentially in the hands of your frontline employees. And so you want to make sure that your software is as easy to use and automates as much of that compliancy as possible, because as much as I love the employees in this industry, if you're going to trust your entire business on a $10 an hour an employee, that could be a challenge. So you want to make sure that the software is keeping your employees in their lane, allowing them to do what they're focused on the best, which is that you're handling your customers as well as managing the product, and then letting the software manage all the compliancy automation for you. So that's my take on that.
Great. We see one more question coming in. The question is, do you know if anyone is currently using Metric in California?
Great question. No, currently no one is using Metric. Metric has not launched yet. The dates are a little squirrely on when Metric is going to launch in California. However, GreenBits is 100% prepared for when Metric launches. We have obviously integrated with Metric in states like Colorado and Oregon, where we've automated all of the compliancy needs for our customers there. We are absolutely ready to do the same in California when Metric flips the switch. Everybody asks me when that date is going to be. I wish I knew. I would absolutely tell you. However, the deadline for compliancy to make sure that you are going to be in a compliant environment is July 1st. And my recommendation for that is and based off of my experience in doing this exact same thing in Colorado, is that you absolutely do not want to wait for July 1st deadline to put a system in place which is going to keep you compliant as far as software, because the last thing you want to put your employees through is learning compliancy as well as a new software system all at the same time. So my recommendation is get a good software system in place that's going to allow you to ramp up into Metric, and then once they do flip that switch, you're 100% prepared and the software is going to do half the work for you.
Great. So that's the end of the questions that we have. So yeah, as I mentioned earlier, if you have any questions, absolutely feel free to reach out to us. And I put up that demo link over there. You should be able to see that on the screen. So if you have any questions or if you'd like to engage with us and understand our product and what we have to offer, absolutely sign up for the demo. You can go to greenbits.com/demo, and we'll be happy to walk you through the various aspects and answer all your questions. So with that, thank you for taking the time to join for this webinar. It was super helpful, and we had the pleasure of hosting this, and hopefully you found it useful as well. And we'll be sharing this webinar content with all those who have registered. Thank you, and have a great rest of the day.
Thank you.